Hello, BookTube. I have some mail for you. I mistakenly called a video yesterday the last mail haul of the week. That was just a years old reflex. But ideally, we aren't going to have any last mail hauls. We're just going to keep doing mail as much as it gets here. The only things that will stop that from happening will be either that I won't get any mail or not much mail, which is certainly an active concern towards the end of any year when publicists start to take 3-week vacations without so much as a buy your leave. Or when I make a mail haul and it doesn't turn out right, doesn't turn out good enough to upload. If I'm not feeling good, or if the lighting's off, or if something interrupts or something like that, you can't redo a mail haul. I don't have to worry any more about this phone running out of storage, but nevertheless, things happen. So I've got packages here, and we'll just keep doing stacks of packages every single time that I have them. No boxes this time around, but you never know what we might find here. So let's see. This first one has been taped 6 ways from Sunday. Oh my, oh goodness. Okay. All right, some of you will know this author. This is a 2020 release. I imagine all of these will be 2020 releases. Some of you may know this author. She's brilliant. She is absolutely brilliant. And this is her new book. It's going to get, April of 2020. This is going to get reviewed everywhere. I will try to review this myself, although I'm not sure what kind of justice I can do it. I don't have a pub sheet for it, but this is the great Sara Kenzie, who, as a commentator on the what we in America have to call the Trump era, she has no parallel. And this is Hiding in Plain Sight. This is her new book. So let me just do it this SFF 180 style. I'll just read from the book. It's terrible how those of us are there's a tiny handful. I think there are maybe 3, maybe just 2, maybe just Thomas and me. There's a tiny handful of people on BookTube who get new books in the mail regularly, and it's absolutely scandalous how helpless we are without the pub sheet, without the sell sheet. If it's not there, you're all of a sudden, well, what do I do? But I can still read you the back of the book, the thing that you're going to read in the bookstore. The story of Donald Trump's rise to power is the story of a buried American history, because people in power liked it that way. Sara Kenzie's Hiding in Plain Sight pulls back the veil on a history spanning decades, a history of an American autocrat in the making. In doing so, she reveals the inherent fragility of American democracy, how our continual loss of freedom, the rise of consolidated corruption, and the secrets behind a burgeoning or autocratic United States have been hiding in plain sight for decades. She often refers on social media and on her podcast, she often refers to the Trump family as just one exponent of a vast international crime syndicate. Doesn't mince words at all. In Kenzie's signature and celebrated style, she expertly outlines Trump's meteoric rise from the 1980s until today, interlinking key moments of his life with the degradation of the American political system and the continual erosion of our civil liberties by foreign powers. She also offers a never-before-seen look at her experiences of living in New York through 9/11 and in St. Louis during the Ferguson uprising, and researching media and authoritarianism when Trump emerged, using the same tactics as the post-Soviet dictators she had long studied. And that is not just Sara Kenzie. She's perhaps the best exponent of that insight. But if you look back to 2016, especially 2017, when things started to become visible, and when it started to become impossible to say this is just a coincidence because it was happening too many times. In 2017, many correspondents who had spent a long time in the Soviet Union, who had been attached to the Soviet Union by their news organizations, many of them independently, not knowing each other, many of them had started to say and write essays and tweets and Facebook posts that a lot of what they were seeing in America now in 2017 was exactly the same as what they had seen in the decaying days of the Soviet Union. I thought when I first heard something like that, I thought, well, okay, to a man with a hammer, everything is a nail. To a former Soviet correspondent, everything is the Politburo. Until I saw more than one person, until I saw many former foreign correspondents making that same observation, and they weren't comparing American politics to the Trudeau era in France or anything like that. They were all zeroing in on the exact same thing and saying, okay, you have a cult of a leader. He's telling you not to believe what you see and hear. You have a state propaganda media, a propaganda channel that is telling you a story that is obviously at odds with the facts. And they just stitch it together night by night like it was some sort of fantasy. A fantasy world, an invented world building. And that's when I started to pay attention, when a number of these correspondents started to say the same thing. And Sara Kenzie is one of them, although I think she's the most eloquent. So this comes out, when did I say? When I was done in April. This comes out in April. I'm really hoping to review it. We will see. We will see. I have a whole bunch of venues. I'm hoping that by April of 2020 I will have more venues. I am the one disappointment that I had professionally in 2019 was the same one I had in 2018, which was that I added very few venues to my list. My list is long, but I want more. I'm not in this for the money. I'm in this to reach an audience. I want to reach a lot of people. And it used to be, once upon a time, that I might have had a good chance at getting a syndicated book review, book column, that I could then just sell all over the country or all over the world and build an audience that way. That doesn't seem to happen so much anymore with the collapse of major news networks. So what I want to do instead is build a large group of venues where my work is welcome. And that didn't really happen in 2018. Of course, I've told everybody who comes here to Hyde Cottage, all of you who come here to Hyde Cottage, you're all welcome. But the people who have, once the wine starts flowing, they all have to listen to the same whiny complaint, which is me saying the 3 I's. I would like a venue in India, Ireland, and Iowa, and that hasn't happened. But nevertheless, I'm blessed with venues now. And one of them, I hope, will let me review this book. If not, there's always Open Letters Review, which is my own venue, and which punches above its weight. Open Letters Review is noticed. It is mentioned in dispatches. It is blurbed on books. And it's the inheritor of Open Letters Monthly, which was around for 10 years and ran a lot of great stuff. So there's always that. And once again, I should take this opportunity to encourage any of you who feel like trying your hand at reviewing to do that for Open Letters Review. We have a very strong masthead. We've put out a lot of work, and the publishing industry notices what we do. It's not a bad place to start. I can't pay you. Except in books. I'm happy to lavish you with books. It always feels like that's a little bit of a cheat to say that because, as you know, if you watch this channel, I'm happy to send anybody books. I take a great amount of pleasure in sending people books. But even so, if you want to give it a try, just be careful. Because if you write me a couple of good reviews, good solid work, doesn't need major, Frankenstein surgery by me or anybody else, I'm going to stick to you. I'm going to want more work from you if you do that once. So pick a specialty. Whatever it is. I have people who write, pick a specialty. You've seen on this channel, I get books on every subject under the sun. So is there something? Siege warfare? Vermont history? Stamp collecting? Broadway musicals? Hockey? Whatever it is, if you already know a subject really well, why shouldn't you review new books on that and get a name for yourself? It's a totally different thing. It adds something to your life resume that can only help you. So anyway, I'll make a concerted push in the new year. But in the meantime, let's move on here. We've only done one book so far, but it's a killer. That was a great way to start. I'm really looking forward to Sara Kenzie. Okay. Okay, this next one is, what is this? Oh, Amazon Crossing. Okay, I didn't recognize the logo. Maybe they changed it. Amazon Crossing is the imprint of Amazon Publishing. Amazon has a large publishing arm now. They have a large and very engaged publishing arm. And regardless of what you might think of how piratical, how horrible the rest of the company is, they've obviously hired some good people on the editor board of all of their different imprints because they're all fantastic. They put out just fantastic work. And some of their translated work, some of the Amazon Crossing stuff, is not only fantastic but genuinely valuable. It generally adds to the broadness of the chorus of voices that we hear in America, and that's fantastic. No matter what else Amazon does, that is a good thing. that they're doing. And they're not rigging the game. You know, they might they might push these things more in their algorithm, but they can't make you buy. They're just putting, when the end of the day comes, when it comes to stuff, when it comes to stuff like this, they're taking the same chance that any other publisher does. They're making a productive, an attractive package, putting it out on the market, and hoping that you're interested. So let's see what we have here. This is Dark Mother Earth by Christian Novak, translated by Ellen alias Bursack. Dark Mother Earth. Very attractive cover. In his English language debut, an award-winning Croatian author tells the story of an amnesiac writer whose life of lies and false memories reaches a breaking point over the course of the novel. This book tells the powerful story of what can happen when the burden of life's cruel realities simply becomes too much to bear. In a small Croatian village in 1991, there were 8 unexplained suicides in just 2 months. A young boy was somehow connected to all of them. As a 6-year-old, Matija, Matija, struggled to understand the tragic death of his father. Seeking solace, he escaped into a world of fantasy. 20 years later, he has reinvented his past and created false memories. I lied more and more about who I was and gradually began believing my own lies. That's a line from him. Writing fiction is an ideal outlet for a writer who wants to keep his own memories buried, and before the age of 30, he's written 2 well-received books. But then his 3rd novel flops, his personal life begins to unravel. Unable to confine his fabrications to fiction, he's abandoned by his girlfriend over his lies. Having lost everything, he embarks on a quest to recreate his childhood. Whatever happened to him as a young boy, he can't remember. What he does know is that he's frightened, angry, and feels terribly responsible. After years of burying and reimagining his past, he must now confront it. But unearthing the truth he has suppressed carries profound risks. Okay, so who is the author? Christian Novak is a Croatian writer, linguist, and university professor. In addition to Dark Mother Earth, Novak is the author of The Hanged and Gypsy, Yet So Beautiful, which was the recipient of the, capital G, J, A-L-S-K-I prize. Yalski prize? I have no idea. I have no idea at all. Okay, well, okay, and this book was awarded a different prize that is equally non-Irish. Capital T, P-O-R-T-A-L? Is that Portal? It was awarded the Portal Prize for Croatian Novel of the Year and was named one of the 10 best Croatian novels of the last 50 years. Good Lord. Okay, it's been successfully adapted for the stage, and a film adaptation is in the work. Dark Mother Earth. That is our author. Okay, so he's written 2 well-received previous novels, so the automatic question becomes, to what extent is this book autobiographical? I guess I'll find out. This comes out in mid-January, hence the finished copy. Croatian fiction in translation. That's what I meant by the work that Amazon Crossing does. Okay, let's see what this next one is. Okay. All right. Okay, I requested this. This comes out in the spring. In May. I don't need your mother's crawdad recipe. Well, I don't need your grandmother's crawdad recipe. I just need to know about your book. Okay, all right. Well, let's go to the book itself then. This is by Brian Panowich, and this is Hard Cash Valley. And this is by the author of Bull Mountain and Like Lions. I think I remember Like Lions, and I think I remember liking it. Dane Kirby is an ex-arson investigator who has lived his life in one of the most chaotic and crime-ridden regions of the South, McFalls County, Georgia. When he gets called in to consult on a brutal murder in Jacksonville, Florida, he and his FBI counterpart, Special Agent Rosalita Velasquez, begin an investigation that leads to the criminal circles of his own backyard. Someone is looking for the victim's younger brother and will stop at nothing to find him. The boy has an unusual skill with numbers that could make someone a lot of money and has already gotten a lot of people killed. As Dane joins in the hunt to find the boy, it swiftly becomes a race against the clock involving everyone from the Filipino mafia to federal agents to some of the hardest Southern outlaws he's ever known. Okay, so a crime novel along the lines of Greg Iles. We'll see if it's as good. Interesting. I have to confess, the description makes it sound like exactly the sort of thing I love to read. So this comes out in May. It's a long way off. All right, let's move on. Let's keep going. What is next here? What on earth? What on earth is this? Okay, this is New York University Press. Okay. This is by an author named Alhariri, and it is called Impostures, a groundbreaking translation by Michael Cooperson with a foreword by Adalfata Kilito. Okay, so we're further afield than Croatia, that's for sure. Let's see. Though often declared to be untranslatable, 12th century Iraqi author Al-Hariri's collection of 50 tales is an essential work of Arabic literature and a masterpiece of wit and wordplay. I don't believe that anything is untranslatable. You can translate anything poorly, but you can make a stab at it. It's just, I don't think that anything is completely translatable. I should put it that way. But you can still bring across a lot of even something that has been rumored to be untranslatable. So what is this? In his thrilling new translation of Al-Hariri's Impostures, Arabic language and literature scholar Michael Cooperson has captured the bright, noisy linguistic fireworks of Al-Hariri's classic piece and transformed it into a fascinatingly contemporary narrative for the modern age. In 50 interlocking narratives, Al-Hariri's Impostures recounts the adventures of an itinerant con man named Abu Zaid, told by the largely clueless narrator Al-Harith ibn Haman. They were originally composed as an example of the rhymed prose narratives known as maqamat, which had been practiced to stunning effect in the 10th century by a man named Al-Hamadhani. Al-Hamadhani came to prominence in what is now northeastern Iran after winning a prose and poetry slam during which he produced pieces of language subject to odd constraints, such as an essay without the word "the" in it. His celebrated linguistics and oratorical talents earned him the nickname the Wonder of the Age. And that, coupled with his early death, left his work to be regarded as the freakish production of a boy genius unlikely ever to be imitated, let alone outdone. Sounds like his biography would be more interesting than his book. And so it was until the 11th century when an unlikely prospect named Al-Hariri decided to challenge that legacy. Al-Hariri wasn't a natural heir to the famed Al-Hamadhani. Though clever and articulate, Al-Hariri lacked his predecessor's spontaneous oratorical flair. In an age where knowledge was transmitted face-to-face, and being an author meant performing one's works in public, Al-Hariri was at a severe disadvantage. He took weeks to compose even one imposture, and was so labored in his process that he was often accused of plagiarizing his stories. However, once finished, Al-Hariri's Impostures became an astonishing and instantaneous success, enjoying a reputation unlike anything else in literary history. His work also contained examples of the kinds of trick writing his predecessor had claimed he could produce, including one imposture containing 90 legal riddles, each based on a pun, and another including a sermon that can be read word for word from end to end, produced an equally plausible speech. Okay. This is a totally new world, and the sheet just goes on and on. This is a totally new world to me. I don't know any of this stuff. Oh, have I got a venue for this? Oh, man. Okay, well, the sheet just goes on and on, telling you more and more about this book. I will tell you a lot more about this when the time comes. Al-Hariri, whose dates are 1054 to 1122, was a Basran poet, scholar, and government official. He's celebrated for his virtuosity in producing rhyme prose narratives, the maqamat. And Michael Cooperson, the translator, has taught Arabic language and literature at UCLA since 1995. Okay. And the forward, Abdel Fattah Kilito, was born in Rabat in 1945 and has received a number of major awards. Okay, all right, this is a totally new world. How fascinating. How completely fascinating. I don't know anything about this, and it's such a long history. I feel absolutely embarrassed that I don't know anything about this. I need to learn about this a lot, and I have some. I can make the beginnings, the inroads of that learning right here, not just necessarily with the books I have here at Hyde Cottage, but also with the internet, which is the you know, it's at moments like this that I have the least amount of patience with old people who decry the internet. I know some old people who decry the internet, and this is when I am most willing to smack them upside their sclerotic faces, because the internet is a miracle. It's 50,000 libraries of Alexandria literally at your fingertips. So I can learn a lot about this. I can read all about it, and more than likely I can listen to lectures about it. Fantastic. Okay, well, this comes out in May. We will be talking about this. Definitely. Oh my. Impostures. Wow, good for New York University Press. Fantastic. Okay, what a mail haul this is turning out to be. All right, let's just keep going. We've got a few more packages. Let's just keep going. Oh, God. Oh. What a way to ruin a buzz. Oh, man. Just one look at this face. All right, well. Okay, into every sunny day, a little Joe McCarthy must fall. God help us. I was feeling so happy. Okay, this is by Larry Ty. This is called Demagogue, and this is the story of Joe McCarthy. Those of you who are maybe young, Americans that are too young to know American history, you certainly aren't taught in school anymore, or those of you who are not from America might not know the name Joe McCarthy. Certainly, he has been largely buried by history. People don't really remember him unless they know a little bit about American history. He was, as the title suggests, a demagogue. He was also a horrible, horrible individual, and he rode high for a long time. He wrote for years. He held an almost Savonarola role in American politics and in American society, slinging mud and ruining reputations. And unbelievably, almost, it's the kind of thing that only happens in real life. It's why I prefer nonfiction to the made-up stories. That reign of terror ended in one single moment, in one single line that was caught on camera. I know you're going to think, no, you're oversimplifying, but no, I'm not. I'm not oversimplifying. Those of you who know, or maybe even are old enough to remember Joe McCarthy, will be eagerly nodding right now. This man's reign of terror not only ended on a dime, but it ended on a dime with one question that was caught on camera. Anyway, let's see what we have here. Do I have a pub sheet? Yes, I do. Okay. Good. Thank God. I'm such a prima donna. I need all the help I can get here. Okay. What have we got here? Oh, well, no, I don't. All right. I don't need your mother's bouillabaisse. Let's see here. So this comes out in early May. Doubtless one of the year's big biographies. It will certainly get reviewed everywhere. This will be reviewed everywhere. All of the partisan political magazines, some of which I've shown you, the National Review, the Nation, and New Republic, all of these, the avowed political magazines on any part of the spectrum, they all feel the need, an antiquated need, to do a back of the book, what used to be called the back of the book, where after the partisan stuff and the opinion pieces are done, the back of the book is given over to an editor who just runs book reviews. Who just runs a bunch of book reviews. They don't have to be political books at all, just a bunch of book reviews. Once upon a time, in a less partisan era, though the editors of the back of the book section were behind a firewall. It was assumed by everyone, not just in the book world, but in the political world, that they were not part of the political apparatus of the magazine, that they ran a separate fiefdom. That's less and less true, and more political magazines on either side of the spectrum have been putting the word out to their back of the book editors, or just replacing them, to say, no, we want the whole magazine to carry the ideological weight, not just the front half. So pick your books accordingly and make sure that they toe the line. And self-respecting editors, self-respecting book section editors will walk the minute they're told that. But the problem, as you know perfectly well, you're adults, you're in the real world. The problem is that behind every self-respecting book section editor who will walk the minute they're told that, there are 10 less self-respecting editors just waiting for the job. So it will happen. Nothing will ever come. Will ever. That gesture will never stop such a thing, such a rot from happening. And whether that rot has happened or not, at any journal, this will get reviewed. It will get reviewed in the New York Review of Books. Time Magazine will do it. The New York Times book review section. This will lead. This will be on the front cover of the book section for when is this? May, early May. So good for Larry Tye. This could, for all I know, be a Trump book. It could be that he started studying Joe McCarthy as a result of Trump's election in 2016. I would have to read his profile to see. But let's see what we have here. Senator Joe McCarthy's personal and professional papers, his medical records, the transcripts of his closed-door congressional hearings, all have been under lock and key for 70 years until now. Okay. All right, so this may not be a Trump book. It may be that Larry Tye was just in the perfect position to be the person who had all that on that new material. They were released exclusively to best-selling author Larry Tye so he could give a thorough account of McCarthy's life as a public figure. And this guy wrote biographies of Satchel Paige and also a very widely reviewed biography of Bobby Kennedy. I think I reviewed it as well. I'm pretty sure I did. Tye also gained unprecedented access to McCarthy's surviving family members, former colleagues, friends, adversaries, and hundreds of others close to the man who destroyed many careers and even entire lives, who whipped the nation into a frenzy of paranoia, accusation, loyalty oaths, and terror for 4 long years. Demagogue is a masterful portrait of a man capable of great evil and great charm, a man who rose and fell with terrifying swiftness, perfectly timed to watch history repeat itself. Okay. Be a little careful about that. Be a little careful about that. History is not going to repeat itself. If history were going to repeat itself, well, obviously the figure here that's being implied is Donald Trump. And the moment that brought Joe McCarthy down was the moment in which a single question made everyone, watching and in the country, suddenly blink and say, ew, that's what we've been cheering on this whole time. And it took that moment for us to realize it, but now that we don't want this guy anywhere near the body politic. And with Donald Trump, be careful what you predict, because that moment happened a long time ago. That moment happened when he mocked a reporter with physical disabilities in front of a cheering crowd. And it didn't end his campaign, and it didn't stop him from getting into the White House. He's never apologized for it, and people have just moved on. That moment should have been that moment for Donald Trump. And the fact that it wasn't means we're in a different era. So I wouldn't make quick predictions about that or anything else. But okay, one way or another, I will certainly be reviewing this thing. Sorry, this mail haul is going long, but we're getting a lot of interesting stuff here. I will certainly be reviewing this. We'll see. Maybe I can review it for the Christian Science Monitor. I wouldn't blame my editor at all if she said no. But somebody, or again, open letters. All right, let's see what this next one is. Try and get this thing in under 30 minutes. We've only got a couple more to go here, so maybe we can do that. Although it doesn't seem to matter. Boy, oh boy, uploading videos straight from my phone to YouTube, it's so much faster than putting them on the computer and then uploading them from the computer. Okay, so let's see here. This is Andre Gregory. This is Not My Memoir, with an unbelievably hideous American cover. If you've seen My Dinner with Andre, the classic 1981 film depicting one long and beguiling dinner conversation between two friends who work in the theater, it's long, all right. It's not beguiling. It's junk. Then you already know what a great storyteller and how magnetically charming Andre Gregory can be. Duly noted. Although the film was a scripted work of fiction devised by Gregory and Wallace Shawn in collaboration with the great Louis Malle, Gregory's character in the film was very much based on himself, a director who had been immersed in the avant-garde theater of the 1960s and 70s, then spent years traveling, searching for deeper meaning in his life. Okay. Well, that's lucky, because this allows us to pass on quickly. This comes out in May. There's very little chance that I'm going to waste any of my life, spending time in a memoir with this guy. But maybe maybe one of you is really interested. Maybe one of you has the misfortune to consider My Dinner with Andre a masterpiece, in which case you'll want to read this book. And then we'll do this last one, and then we'll be done. Let's see here. Oh, baby. Frida has finally decided to pay attention to the pile of junk on the floor. Let's see. Okay. All right, this comes out on January 7th. So this is a finished copy. This is called Sam, by Jonathan Waldman, who wrote a book called Rust, about Rust, that was really, really good. Rust was tremendously entertaining. Again, I don't know what your library is like, but I strongly urge you to give it a try. If you don't think that Rust is interesting, read this book. He'll prove you wrong. So this is a true story of innovation centered on a scrappy team of engineers far from Silicon Valley and their quest to achieve a surprisingly difficult technological feat, building a robot that can lay bricks. Okay. All right. Okay, 25 years ago, on a challenging construction job in Syracuse, architect Nate Podkammer had a vision of a future full of efficient automated machines that freed men from the repetitive, toilsome burden of laying bricks. Offhandedly, he mentioned the idea to his daughter's boyfriend, and after some inspired scheming, the architect and the engineer, soon to be in-laws, co-founded a humble startup called Construction Robotics. Working out of a small trailer, they recruited a boldly unconventional team of engineers to build the semi-automated Mason, S-A-M, SAM, semi-automated Mason. Okay. All right. Well, this comes out in January. I'm all for it. This author has all the credit in the bank he's ever going to need with me. Rust was fantastic. And the subject is interesting, too. I remember watching a short video on YouTube, probably a year ago, of a robot doing something very simple. I think it was trying to stack a box, and it was flopping all over the place, and it was putting the box down wrong, and it was, picking the box up and putting it down wrong again. And every single comment on the video was saying, and these are the things we're supposed to worry about losing our jobs to? Look at that. It's ridiculous. And only one person in the comments field pointed out that the machine had been built a month before. A month before. What did you do when you were a month old? The machine had been built a month before. It could already walk. It could already coordinate its arms enough to pick up a box. And it could already identify that it needed to pick the box up instead of pushing it around or throwing it. What looked like egregious failings were minuscule tweaks in programming. And it was a new machine. And that person in the comments field was me. So anyway, this has natural appeal. Okay, well, all right, there we go. What a journey. That mail haul was a journey. We went all over creation and back. So let's recap. We have Sam, an automated bricklayer. We have This Is Not My Memoir, from one of the geniuses behind the genius work, My Dinner with Andre. We have Demagogue by Larry Tyre, gigantic new biography of Joe McCarthy. We have Impostures by Alhariri, a new work, a new rendition into English, I assume the first, of a work that had long been characterized as untranslatable. We have Hard Cash Valley. It seems like hard-hitting crime fiction that maybe has a literary bent to it. Dark Mother Earth by Christian Novak. Those of you who know your Croatian authors, I would love to hear about this author. I would love to hear if you know anything. And finally, Hiding in Plain Sight by Sara Kenzie, who is a must-read author about your current age. If you live in America, you simply must read her. And listen, I guess, to her podcast. I don't listen to podcasts, but I'm assuming she's brilliant on it. I'm assuming she's brilliant every time she talks about the politics of the current age. But anyway, good Lord. Sorry for the length of the video. I'm consoled only by the fact that a lot of you tell me that you put these mail hauls on while you're cooking dinner or in the background, and that you just look when a new book is open or when I mention Frida. So anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.